My name is Lindsey James. I'm a senior at MacMurray College. I'm an interpreter major with a social work heart, and my presentation is on the realm of poverty. The history of poverty. It started with Molly Orshansky back in 1963-64. She developed the poverty thresholds, and those two thresholds were agricultural department and economic food plan. After that, there was the Bureau of Census, and that was the basis of socioeconomic, graphic economic, and characteristics. That's how they based the poverty line. So I read an article, from Professor Williams. One of her PowerPoints I used from the poor class in America. It talked about how 1 in 7 people are in poverty, and like for example, an individual can make like $11,139 a year, and that's considered the poverty line. Or a family of 4 is considered to be in poverty if they make $20,000 and like 314. So it's kind of sad. Anyway, and then my next thing is the high cost of poverty. This is an article I found online, and not online, it was also part of Professor Williams' presentation on poverty, and it discussed, pretty much you have to be rich to be poor. And examples it used is, poor people that don't have access to vehicles to drive to like the local grocery store where food costs and everything is a lot lower than normal, so they have to walk to the nearest like convenience store, which everything costs $1 or more. So it just, like I said, it costs more to be poor. Okay, existing prejudice and stereotypes for poverty. The myth is their work ethic is lazy, they're not motivated. Educational wise, they have no value in it, they don't care, nor do they care about their children's value of education. Also, the stereotype is they don't know how to read, their level of reading and comprehension is low. And the fourth one is drugs and alcohol. The assumption is they all abuse it. They're all drug addicts and drink lots of alcohol. But the reality for these 4 myths are they actually work multiple jobs due to the fact they have to survive. And so that means they actually have really good work ethic, and they work hard at what they do to survive and to provide for their children. In terms of education, they have the same attitudes as people in the middle class or people in the upper class. They care about education, they value it, they want their kids to be successful. In terms of not being able to read, that's not true. In all languages, there's this continuum of registers, and the fact is all language is structured and it's complicated, and there's struggles for anybody in terms of learning a new language or whatever. In terms of drug and alcohol use, that's equally distributed no matter what class you're in, you're poor, middle, or upper. Everyone does it, everyone abuses it, but there's research to show that it's more prevalent in the upper, wealthier economic status. So, because they have the money to afford it. Next. My own personal prejudice and stereotypes. Growing up, like if we were to drive in that side of town, in those neighborhoods, family or would make comments about, see, they're not dressed clean, their hair's messed up. That includes being out in the public in stores too. Their appearance in general, just negative. And personal choices that they make, why aren't they finding a job to work to support themselves? Why aren't they going to school to educate themselves? Job-wise, same thing. Like, there's resources out there, why aren't they using them to get the jobs they need just to go to school and vice versa? And drugs and alcohol abuse, yeah, you see them out in the streets drinking or you know, if you give money to them, that's what it's going towards, is drugs and alcohol. Okay, these are like media stereotypes, and I've laughed at all these jokes. This is not really a joke, but I watched this series of his stand-up. I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but he's talking in terms of how bums are disgusting, and the joke is he like leaned in to talk because the bum like said something real quick, and so he leaned in to hear it again, and the bum tapped him on the lip, and then all of a sudden he got this big bump, and so that's like the stereotype. Ron White, you can't fix stupid, you know, that just correlates to how people in poverty are not educated and can't read and stuff like that. This is from 8 Mile, the movie, Eminem, but his perspective is he's one that gets discriminated against. He lives in that poverty, he lives in that stereotype environment, but the thing is he's trying to work to better himself, but he has his mother who doesn't work and doesn't do anything and expects him to fill that responsibility to, you know, fulfill her life. And then Bridesmaids, of course, Help Me On Board, just a negative comment. So I did a little different with the culture thing. I'm gonna show a video about actually homeless people were actually asked what their life was before, and they're holding up signs and saying what they used to be like. So it's like real life culture. These are real life people. And then I'll Alright, I don't know if anybody knows about Liz Murray, but I just recently discovered her. I'm gonna start crying about it. I find her really inspirational. Sorry. Her background is, she grew up in New York City, and her parents were drug addicts, and her mom ended up getting full-blown AIDS, and her dad ended up moving to a homeless shelter, so she became homeless herself. But her story is that she went from homeless to Harvard, and she worked her way up herself, which is so inspiring. And how she did it was, you know, most students are going out looking for colleges to attend, but she was just trying to find a high school that would take her in. So she honestly went door to door to high schools asking for them to take her in to be a student, and finally one high school did. And so her biggest thing is, her quote is, falling in love with possibility, and that's what she uses to get through anything that she feels like she can't succeed in. And she just has a great message, and I think you guys should look this up and watch it. I wish I could put it on, but it's too long, so I did it. But it's something to watch because you'll learn a lot about it. And sorry, I already started crying. My goals and objective is I became a follower and friend of the New Direction here in Jacksonville. And so I want to keep up with what's going on so I can donate and volunteer my time. I'm hoping to do something like around Christmas Eve time. This cool shelter, the Storm, they had this in Jacksonville where people in the community actually made their own cardboard boxes. And for one night, they lived inside of them so they can experience the real life of being homeless. So I want to participate that next year, 2015. January is Poverty Awareness Month, so I want to wear purple every day. And then to educate myself, I want to read a book called Elite Perceptions of Poverty and Equality. I found it online. It seems really interesting. I haven't got to go in depth to see what it's about. And then I'm going to watch the full movie of Liz Murray. Her actual movie is on YouTube. So I'm watching it this weekend because she's so cool. And then Jacksonville area Center for Illinois for Independent Living. I already know them. They're awesome people, and so I'm going to volunteer my time. Okay. Interview question. Can you describe the neighborhood you grew up in? This person, at the age of, between ages 5 and 12, lived in a culturally diverse city in Texas, and it was a poor city. From ages 12 and up, this person moved into a neighborhood where it was majority white, but was poverty as well, and was isolated. Never lived in a house, only lived in apartments and mobile homes. Next question. This person, I asked, if you could have 3 wishes, what would it be? The wishes were own their own home, have a happy child, and have a peaceful life. In addition to being paid money, how else has your career created value in your life? They met awesome people, and they were able to learn to deal with grief better by doing that. I asked this person, how do you describe yourself as a parent? And they said they're structured but supportive. Have you ever been married? To whom and for how long? They said they've never been married, but they feel that love doesn't need a piece of paper. If you love someone, you know, it's real. So I really love that answer and completely agree. What's the most difficult thing that has ever happened to you, and how did you deal with it? Their parents were divorced. They suffered alcoholism, and then they dealt with it by going to AA. So I'm very proud of them. Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt like you overcome a barrier or obstacle, and tell me what that was like for you? They said yes. It was a difficult obstacle and barrier, but it was worth it because they had their child, their family, and their career. And if it wasn't for that, then they wouldn't have been able to get over what they overcame. So there's my references. Thank you. I'm done.
All right, let's give her a second round for being up there, being so vulnerable. Good job. Okay, something positive, and then one constructive criticism, or if you guys have very passionate about it.
You're a good person.
Yeah.
You're a good person.
You're very genuine.
Uh-huh.
I noticed you just kept doing a lot of like signs.
Signing
Every time, if you
know.
weren't signing, you
I
were
told
like
you that's like-
grabbing your neck to like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I could
You're
tell.
like-
Yeah, like,
I didn't put your hands together, just kind of knocked
Do you know she was fired?
Is that the, movie that's on
It must be. I've never,
What's
yeah, it must be a lifetime.
It is homeless to
Harvard.
Harvard. It's amazing.
And Liz
I'm
Murray.
gonna watch it.
Oh, I can't
I
wait.
cried like probably through the whole thing.
Look at me, I'm all like, oh, yeah, I was kind of listening,
you're
watching I watched the trailer of it.
Just right
They don't play it as much.
Whatever you want to do, depends on how rough you want to give it to Sam. I mean, that's up to you.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
okay. So
She's got to adjust to people moving.
Absolutely
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a
respectful.
tearjerker. But just listening to her talk, she's an inspiration.
I was happy when you put the note cards down.
Thank you, yeah, I was like,
Just flowed better.
thank you.
It did, yeah. None of your stuff. You did a good job.
You should have one of those voter booths.
Hey, Lindsay, just something for you to just keep in mind. So if you're ever giving presentations, and I know you will be because you're a good, strong leader, I know you're passionate about things, you're a very educated woman. So think about if signing and using your hands is part of who you are, just announce that to the audience.
Okay.
Just
That's a
say,
good one.
I'm an interpreter, and so if you notice me showing signs throughout, that's just part of my second language that comes with me.
Okay.
You'll notice it. I mean, even Robert, and part of what he was doing was to highlight, actual, Spanish phrases. But you heard it in his, didn't you? And you just thought that's part of a language he knows. And that's fine. So you just announce it to people because if someone's up there and they're introducing foreign language and throughout, it's important to just kind of address that,
Oh, that's a good point.
that it comes out that way. Anything that you can do to just tell us about it looks more professional. So, excuse me, I have kind of a dry throat today. I think I'm coming down with a cold. So if you see me sipping some water, just pardon my interruptions. Seems
And
so.
how do you deal with emotional things with, like, I was fighting back
You did a good job.
as hard as I could.
So things that are emotional. Well, two things. You're not, with social work. I would tell you something totally. So don't listen to this. What I'm going to tell her. Don't listen. But the thing with you is not as a social worker and addressing things that are emotional, you really have to do those practice runs before
Okay.
and get used to the words and the language so that when you're up there, it's not so prevalent. For my social workers, this is a skill that we will practice and hone in on because you're going to be hearing these things on a regular basis. And so there's a shell that you're going to have to build.
I need to form one then.
Form your shell. But otherwise, you did great. So, I mean, if signing something part of you, if you feel like, because the reaction to yours was this, and so if it's going to be that much, that's distracting. But if you tell me and you just do it real quick, that's not distracting. Does that make sense?
Okay, yep.
Okay, so just, use that in your next presentation and for the rest of your professional career, and that'll be great.
Oh, I never do it.
Okay, who's next? Sam?
Yeah.
We got Sam, Tawanda, Rihanna, Andrew, and Krista. Halfway through, we gotta go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just standing up here.